Well, let's get to an organization that actually has been winning, although they've been a laughingstock, ironically, before all these teams, and it's the Lions. And
For the longest.
Lucas's favorite guy, Eric, he tweeted out, someone asked him about, like, how often do the Lions draft guys that have visits? Because it was just a random question. Curious, Brock asked, curious if you have this info, how many of the Lions first-round picks in the Holmes era have been top 30 visits? He put out Lions first-round pick plus visit. So Sewell, obviously that was a COVID year, but Hutch, combine visit and top 30 visit. Gibbs, combine visit. Campbell, combine visit. And Terrence Arnold, top 30 visit. And then in 2024, top 30 plus drafted by Lions, Arnold, Rakestraw, Manu, and Vaki. So basically
also combine.
Also combine. So the point of this is, if he's bringing you in for a top 30 visit or just a combine meet, then you're probably on his radar. Like, especially in the first round, by the way. I don't think that makes sense. I don't take Brad for someone that would draft a player if they haven't met with him. You know, like, it's like the Laporta stuff, all the Inside the Den videos where they come out with, like, meeting with Laporta and they're just drilling them with questions. Like, they have tons of that stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure they met with
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, like Jahmyr. Same thing with Scotty Montgomery quizzing him and throwing questions at him. Like, they obviously look at that. And I have combine. I want to get to first the top 30 because I have combine visits too. But here's top 30 visits. This is on Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated. So shout out John Macaroon. But you look at some of the top 30 visits so far, very random. Chaz Chambliss, linebacker out of Georgia. Lan Larison, running back, UC Davis. Gray Zabel.
That's a big one to see there.
Offensive line, North Dakota State. Josiah Stewart, defensive end. More probably Sam linebacker in the NFL, but still. Out of Michigan. Ruben Hippolyte. The second. Linebacker out of Maryland. And then Shamar Stewart, defensive lineman. He's the only
earlier boys. I can't scream.
Besides Josiah, you can call a defensive lineman, but a true defense, the only true defensive lineman they've met with, Shamar Stewart, as a top 30 visit so far. Could be more, but this is it. And then they had some local visits, and they also had Josiah on there, but it's more guys locally. And then pro day visits, just kind of random. Deion Walker would be the notable one here.
Yeah,
Deion Walker, they did meet with at the pro day. But yeah, like Wayne State guys, Wake Forest defensive linemen, but like more of these guys that we don't really, not too many people are familiar with. But yeah, you look at this top 30 guys. Gray Zabel could be in consideration.
That's interesting.
Shamar Stewart could be in consideration. Josiah Stewart will be in consideration. And then you look at some of these other guys like Chaz, he's probably like a 5th, 6th round guy. Look for him. Maybe they draft another linebacker. Ruben Hippolyte, the second, could be a guy they take late in the draft. Like, these are names that probably and Steve says Hippolyte's probably a 4th rounder. But still, these are names, guys.
Keep an eye on.
Remember them, because they'll probably be Lions.
Can I throw this out there too? And I said it a couple weeks ago, and then this is the reason I put him in my mock draft. I think it was last week I actually put him in there, and it was because of this specifically. Was Josiah Stewart, edge rusher out of Michigan. They have not only have they had the top 30 visit, Jeff, can you scroll down a little bit? What was it? A local pro day?
Yeah, the local day where they visit guys.
They did a local day, and then they did a remote or a virtual interview with him as well. So like Josiah, it's not just like one day with Josiah Stewart. They have done the local pro day with him. They've done the top 30 visit with him. I don't know about the combine. I believe he was at the combine. I don't know if they met with him. I don't know the combine list. But then they also did a virtual with Josiah Stewart. Like, to me, when you see, and you saw it there with like a guy like Vaki and some of those guys outside the first round, like meeting with those guys multiple times, especially an edge rusher in state when they probably got to see him a million times play football in Ann Arbor, they're probably very high on a guy like Josiah Stewart. And they're like, they might feel like, and I think he is. I think he's a guy that can come in day one and produce at the edge position for you. And Jeff, like you said, maybe Sam, but I even think like worst case scenario, like a 3rd down back to get to the quarterback on across from him and Hutch out there, get to the quarterback on 3rd down.
Just like Barnes does. Barnes.
Yeah, like even if a Marcus Davenport gets hurt, I don't think you're in a bad position where if you have to roll with Josiah Stewart, I think day one stepping in, he would be able to step up and play some ball and get like some meaningful snaps. So like that's why I did it. I did it last week. I took him. I think it was 60th overall. He's probably going to be there at 60 unless the team really falls in love with him. But you can go in there and be like, yeah, I think like I almost want to be like it's almost a guarantee. I feel like I know it's not all guarantees, but I feel like that's the closest to where like if you're connecting the dots, Josiah Stewart to the Detroit Lions feels like that's one where it's like keep your eye on that because he's met with them 3 times now.
3 of Eric's that picks Eric listed were combine visits. I have the combine visits, formal meetings because we were at the combine.
These are also big ones. These are
huge. And this is A to Z Sports. Mike Payton wrote about this. And it's all the combine formal meetings. So you have look at Savion Jones, the
Mike Green,
Edge, Mike Green, Jack Sawyer, Nick Scorton.
It's a big one too, Klotz.
Chris Paul. That Chris Paul Jr.
Chris Paul, yeah.
Auburn linebacker. I mean, they got some linebackers on here. Kobe
King. Keep an eye out on Kobe King.
Yeah, I mean, Jahad Campbell's on here. They've met with him formally. Yeah, formal meetings. And then you have some more edges like Colin. They met with a lot of defensive linemen. I mean, at the combine. I mean, Colin Oliver, Howard Cross. They got Kenneth Grant.
I hope when they did their combine visit with Kenneth Grant, they were sold. That's why I was like, hey, we like Josiah Stewart. Let's get a little bit more intel. I hope they got all the intel they needed on Kenneth Grant. Like, all right, we'll trade up for him.
Yeah, imagine they get Kenneth Grant and Josiah Stewart, and then you have Hutch.
And Hutch.
Klotz, I know you're an Ohio State man, but you have to admit in the NFL
now, Boone.
Man, that would be a
great offensive and defensive lineman. Don't care.
Yeah,
I mean, be a tough D line.
Andrew Makuba. They met with some safeties. Jonas Sanker. You got some tight ends on here as well. They met with some corners, guys that are probably going to be even wide receivers. I mean, look at these wide receivers.
Manor.
Yep. I mean, they have some good wide receivers on here as well.
Jalen Milroe.
Okay, all right.
Let's not skip over Jalen Milroe.
Donovan Jackson, offensive lineman.
Yeah, they've met with some offensive linemen. I mean, Jonah. Who offensive lineman everyone's loving in our chat. Eli Cox, Donovan, Charles Grant, Emory Jones, and other offensive tackles. So they've met with a lot of good prospects.
I think especially in the middle of the draft, watch out for Charles Grant too, because they took Colby Sorsdahl to William and Mary, so they obviously like what's going on there with their offensive lineman, and he's got like forget the amount, but his wingspan is insane. I would not be surprised in the 5th round if Brad rolls the dice for Charles Grant.
Klotz.
They don't take a tackle early on. I wouldn't be surprised at all, Boone.
I'm just saying how you tell me all the time, hey, when I see the specific school, I'm out on them because they don't produce guys. Fair. When I see the Colby Sorsdahl thing, I died on the Colby Hill for a whole year. Okay. And I thought this last year was the year he takes a step. And Christian Mahogany comes in and just passes him up instantly. Yode's playing over him. The man wasn't healthy. He was a healthy scratch almost every game. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to judge a guy just because of a guy that came from school. But there is that feeling where it's like, do we really need to just bring in another William and Mary? We know, like give me. I would trust a tackle or guard from a Power 5 school.
What about a Mac?
Maybe. I mean, it just depends.
Rocket coming off the offensive line. Toledo Rocket?
Maybe it just it depends on that. The MAC is a different level, but like again, you don't see a lot of dudes come from the MAC and be dogs besides like the Khalil Macks, those types of guys.
Crosby.
Yeah, no, I'm saying there are guys, but like it's not like hey, like there's a higher hit rate of these SEC guys or Big Ten guys. I trust that a little bit more.
Yeah, like
Sean, the old act.
They've met also, and I misspoke today on my mock draft video, and I'll correct it here. But Tyler Booker, they've met with Tyler Booker. And his uncle, I think I said in the video his uncle played for the Lions. And what I meant was he played in Michigan. He played for Michigan State. So he played for the Steelers, but he played in Michigan State. His uncle was an offensive lineman, Ulyss Booker. So, and that's a player that I know, Klotz, you've had on your mock draft at 28. You traded back and got him. I'm opening my mind a little more, getting more comfortable with the idea that 28 or trading back, the first pick, we'll just say, if you're not getting a premier edge, let's say they're gone, there could be a possibility where maybe you do trade back and get like Donovan Jackson or a Tyler Booker, Gabe Zabel. Like you can get some of these really good offensive linemen. I mean, they've met with some. There's going to be some really good guards there. And honestly, if you're Brad Holmes and your quarterback's Goff, you want to protect him, and the interior offensive line, you have now a second-year player in Christian Mahogany, but Graham's, you don't really know what's going on with Graham. It'd be nice to just reset that position with a rookie deal, and you could still get a really good player. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Maybe you get a Donovan Jackson who could play tackle for you in spots, like he played tackle during Ohio State's run, and he played against Oregon in that defensive line. So there's plenty of opportunities.
Played against Penn State. Like because who are the two defensive ends that sitting at 28 Lions fans are getting excited about, or you could possibly move up a little bit? James Pierce and Shamar Stewart for the most part. And yeah, they could fall. But there's also a world where both of those guys could be either the first defensive end taken off the board, or I won't even say top 15, I'll say top 16, because you look at Atlanta and Arizona, they're both going to go the defense side of the football. They need needs on defense. Atlanta doesn't have a true pass rusher. They lost Grady Jarrett. They don't have anybody out there. Same thing with Arizona. They got Jonathan Gannon. They traded away Zach Allen, which they never should have done. Neither of those teams have an edge, and they all have good quarterbacks in that division, or will be good quarterbacks. NFC South, maybe not so much. But when you look at James Pierce and Shamar Stewart, they're not going to be there 28. I understand with the James Pierce off the field issue, but I just don't see a way that James Pierce falls there. And same thing with Shamar Stewart. So now you're going to be looking at BPA. I wouldn't be mad at all if you were looking at an offensive lineman. When you look at this Detroit Lions team, if you take Donovan Jackson or Tyler Booker at 28, because you really, especially with those next teams up in that first round, especially like the Titans or maybe the Browns or the Giants, they take a quarterback. What are they naturally going to want to do? Protect them. So if you take those guys, I won't be upset at it, because there is a gap, I think, where in the late first round, early second round, there's going to be like those guards, the Ariante Ursis, the Donovan Jacksons, those type of players where they could start day one, and there's really not that much progression, or you could reach on a defensive end in a loaded defensive end draft. So if they take an offensive lineman at 28 or move back and take an offensive lineman with their first pick, not only is that kind of what I'm expecting, but I wouldn't be mad whatsoever, because time after time after time, Brad will wait in the draft to take the team need, and he'll go at it. Well, maybe not BPA, because I think there's a little flaw to that, because there could be some better players. Like if there's a Nick Emowari sitting there, you're not going to tell me he's better than Tyler Booker at that position. But there's definitely a world where Brad passes up on defensive end for the first pick, or maybe even two.
Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested, or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, FisherCTSports.com.